are we going to be live streamed? And then if you, okay. And you know, you can press the little X when it says who can see this transcript. If it's in the way, you just press that little X and it disappears.
Did you do it already?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, because I thought that was only on my screen.
It is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But anybody can see the transcript.
Right. But if you don't want to see the notice about it, you can say, I don't need to see the notice about it.
Okay, we are recording.
Going X, click. Click X.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting. We are starting.
Here's Dutch.
Okay.
And I need to ask for a note taker, vibes watcher, and timekeeper.
I volunteer for note taking.
Who is that?
Margot.
Margot, thank you.
And I'll do vibes and time. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Do we have any revisions to the agenda that Cheryl sent out?
Just McGregor's, we're going to put McGregor sooner.
Yeah, but does anybody else have any?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how much time will the folks who are giving reports have? I wouldn't mind a 4-minute.
Yeah, 4 minutes. Yeah, we have like 10 reports and 60 minutes.
Okay, I'll put you on there, Eileen.
She's in there.
Oh, already?
Yeah. Every campaign has a spot in the agenda.
Okay, so yeah.
Bump
Okay.
my time, that's all.
Okay. So let's all very briefly check in, just your name and location. And if you have something you want to say, it'd be the next one. So I'm Ellen Thomas. I'm in the mountains of North Carolina, and I apologize for not having my face on there, but I've got a lot going on with my computer, and I might disappear entirely if I use up too much bandwidth. So yeah. Jean, would you like to go next?
I'm in New York City, and there have been local vigils because I live in a very Jewish area. I'm not Jewish myself, but we've been having a lot of vigils. So that's it.
Okay, Jean Bertheim. Margot.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here, and I am an Indigenous Nisenan territory, and I'm from the Sacramento branch of WILPF. Thank you.
Odile, you're muted.
I am Odile Lugono-Heber, and I am in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Andre.
Hello, I'm with the Boston WILPF branch.
Margaret Pecoraro, you're muted. Okay, I'll come back to you. Robin Lloyd. Oh, Margaret, you're not muted anymore.
Hi, I'm from Tucson, and it's a wonderful day. I want to tell you something. It's so pleasant to see Andre here because he smiles, and I look at his smile, and I don't know who among you takes Greg's shorthand, but the brief form for well, if you remember that song, well, spirit is moving all over this land. The brief form for well is an L. And it looks like his is a smile. It looks just like that. It's sort of like if you curved your eyelash, if you dropped an eyelash and used it for a smile. And it's so wonderful.
Okay, flirting enough.
All right. Okay, Robin, it's your turn.
Yeah. Okay, Robin, Burlington, Vermont. I'm wearing my T-shirt.
Peace, shalom, shalom. I've been wearing it straight for the last week and trying to sing with it. It was a slogan from Emma's Revolution, a singing group about 2 decades ago.
It's a good one.
Yeah, there's a song that goes with it.
Joan,
I have the same shirt.
Uh-huh. This is what we have to wear today.
We should make them again.
Yes.
Joan,
Can you take a picture and send it to me?
Yeah, sure. I will do that. I will do that. As I say, it's a little bit faded, but no, it
No,
looks
no,
pretty
it's
good.
not faded. It's very nice.
Yeah, yeah. Peace, shalom, shalom.
Shalom,
Shalom,
peace.
shalom. Peace, shalom, shalom. Peace. We sang it from
Yeah.
Union Square to the United Nations, singing just that song. That was our only slogan. It was very powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Joan,
Maybe
Did you
will
say-
deal.
Did you say Joan or
I
Pam?
did. Joan, I said.
Okay, Joan Goddard in San Jose, California, San Francisco Bay Area. Thank you.
Odile, did you introduce yourself?
Yes, I did.
Okay, apologize. Eileen,
Hi, everyone. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, Boston branch.
Jerome, unmute yourself, please.
No, we can't hear you.
Hatch.
Gesundheit.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
We have
Yes.
to get
Yes.
more vitamin C.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jerome, and I am in Cabot, Vermont. I have been filming meetings, demonstrations, action demonstrations that have been happening in favor of ceasefire in Gaza for the last few days. I've just been putting them out on my YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Put
Glad
your,
to have you here.
put your YouTube channel in the chat so people can access it.
Oh, okay.
You know how to do that? There's chat here somewhere.
Yes. Notes. Would that be notes?
No, go on to
Chat.
more.
Oh, chat.
and
I
there's
see chat. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Pam
Rob.
and then Nancy.
Pam Richard, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Nancy, you're muted.
Okay, this is Nancy Price in Davis, California. Chair of Earth Democracy Committee.
We're just doing name and place, pretty much. Unless
Okay,
there's something
fine, that's
special
it.
you want to share.
Nope, that's it.
'Cause
Okay,
you just got on, so you're.
McGregor.
Yes, I am usually in Salinas, California. I'm right now in Santa Monica, California, and I will be going to the protest at midnight Halloween at Vandenberg on my way home. We expect possibly 6 people, which would be a huge increase.
Okay, we got you on the schedule.
I know, I just wanted to say that's all, is that I'm here and very, very tired.
Okay. Martha,
Martha Spees, Portland, Maine.
Duncan, you're muted.
Hi, Duncan Nichols, Thetford, Vermont.
Welcome. And Cheryl.
Cheryl Spencer from the Palo Alto Peninsula branch of WILPF. That's just 35 miles south of San Francisco. And I'm a co-chair. I think did Diane tell us she wasn't coming? Ellen?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I've been
That's
very
right. She's our other co-chair, but anyway. Thank you.
Okay, I think that covers it. And so now we're
Now,
going
Pam?
to, Pam has already.
Pam Richard, okay.
Yes. Milwaukee. Milwaukee.
What?
That's the way some people pronounce it. Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
Yeah,
Instead of Milwaukee.
My friend who's a Wisconsinite pronounces it that way. Milwaukee.
Okay.
Uh,
So did we ask about the minutes of the last?
No, that we would go to, we'd go to
Oh,
2B
that's
now.
okay, that's number 3. Okay. All right. So short reports on your WILP action since the last meeting, if you're not on the agenda. I've got McGregor down. So would you like to go, McGregor?
Oh, okay. In our local area, we managed to stop the Board of Supervisors from passing a resolution in support of Israel. First, it took a lot of work, but it led to us meeting new people, younger people that we can work with. It turned out to be a gift. It really was wonderful, but it was been very tiring because then after that, I was coming down here for a memorial for Teresa Bonpane, and while I was on my way, they moved it to the earliest possible date, which is Tuesday. So that's coming up, but that report's later on the agenda, right? Or is this it? I'm sorry, I'm confused.
This is it.
Can I tell you about Vandenberg now?
Yes, tell us about Vandenberg.
I just wanted to make sure it was the right time. This demonstration, it's up on the World Beyond War website, and it just went up on Code Pink California, has a lot more support than the one we did in September. Key to that is I am now the California coordinator for World Beyond War, or the coordinator of the California chapter. Doesn't pay anything or anything, it's just more work. But it does mean I get some support from their staff when I really need it. And I'm learning a lot, and I'm taking a class on how to do a perky Zoom meeting. I've only taken one, so we're working on it, how to make those better. I need some support from WILPF in 3 areas. The first is I request that you, as my fellow Disarm members, educate yourself about land-based ICBMs if you have not already. I recommend going to Diffuse Nuclear War, where there are tapes of Daniel Ellsberg explaining it. And this is why I recommend it. It means that you do not have to be an expert to speak on this issue. You can just say what is happening and play the tape of Daniel Ellsberg. It's very effective. You have a portable expert that people will listen to now, and it's exactly what he wants us to do with it. That's why he made it. So you can go on the radio, because I hear far too much of people saying, I can't speak up against it because I'm not an expert. An intercontinental ballistic missile is a very old part of the nuclear triad. Some of you may remember Tom Lear. These are the old siloed land-based ones sitting in Colorado, North Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, and something else I've forgotten. And they're there, and they've been there for 50 years. They're now proposing to replace them with new ones, even though the military did not want them. Sisters, this is such an easy issue compared to talking about Ukraine or even Gaza, although I work on those. Once people look at it, you don't need to tell them it's terrible, just need to know that that's what we're doing. And most people don't think we need them, think they're horrible. So the main thing we do is education. So I'm requesting you, as my WILPF brothers and sisters, to do that. Educate yourselves. There's an article by Dan Ellsberg and Norman Solomon specifically about the land-based coalition. And if you're really interested, you can watch the YouTube video on WILPF with me, Christian Sorensen, Cynthia Papermaster, and Jackie Cabasso, specifically talking about the Vandenberg ICBMs and the cost of the replacement. All of that's available if you're interested. And that would help me a lot if there was a broader and deeper understanding of what these things are. The second thing I need is money. This was unexpectedly expensive to have to stay down here and things like that. And I want to do it correctly. But if somebody wants to make a donation, since I don't have anything set up yet, a donation to Diffuse Nuclear War, they are providing signs and a lot of support. And it's such a big help that I can't afford, that if a donation to them and just they don't designate it, but it would help. It helps us because they're helping me. Help that you actually cannot give me. So anyway, and then the third thing I need is moral support because it's scary. And if you happen to know somebody along that corridor of the Amtrak train 777 that gets to Lompoc at like 7 in the evening, anyone along that line of Los Angeles, Glendale, Burbank, Chatworth, Northridge, Simi Valley, all the way up to the Lompoc, there's just one night. You get on in the evening and you're back in the morning. It's a sleepover for peace. So it's on the World Beyond War. It's on Code Pink. And it's certainly going to be bigger than before. And I hope that you will support me in the 3 ways that I've requested. Thank you.
Cheryl, you have your hand raised.
Yes, just to remind everybody that McGregor has sent us some of these details in 2 emails that she sent in the last 36 hours to the WILF discussion listserv. So please go search on an email for McGregor via the discussion listserv. The fact she's done all this research on the Amtrak train that, as she said, you can get on it near Los Angeles, come north, and it goes through all those towns she just mentioned, and then you don't even hardly stay overnight.
Yes, it'll be a broken night because we're waking everybody up. We have rooms at the Holiday Inn Express. That's part of where all this money is going, plus the ones I'm staying in. We can solve that later, but it is getting acute. But anyway,
so
we've
other
got some
people.
plans. We'll do that later, but that's sorry.
Fine,
So
no, you're doing a marvelous job, McGregor. And if people can get something in their local paper, even better.
Robin?
Yeah, for the 2 people who are new on this call, to just say what happens at Vandenberg. Why is it so important?
Robin, you explain it, because I want to make all of us the experts. You explain what happens at Vandenberg.
Okay, the military tests the intercontinental ballistic missiles from the Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, and they do it very rarely and they don't announce it much. And McGregor is the point person for all of this for the whole country to get people to be aware of what a incredible boondoggle this whole thing is.
Okay. Robin, that's excellent. There's only one correction. They do it 4 times a year.
Okay, 4 times.
They did it in February. This is the 4th for this year. And it's people are so used to it. They've been doing it since the 1970s that it's become routine. But when they notice what it is, they're surprised and horrified. But thank you. Your explaining it helped me see both the strengths and weaknesses of what I've been presenting. Thank you so much.
And also the point is that the missile goes up without its nuclear warheads, and it goes all the way to the Marshall Islands. So is they're proving that system still works. These are old missiles. These must be the spares that are not in the silos.
No, they dig them up.
They dig them up and bring them.
They take them up. They take the warhead off it and they ship it across the country. I wish we knew where, to Vandenberg, and then test the actual missiles. Sometimes they're testing a spare that they will explain each time, but they're testing actual missiles that they bring, missiles that were holding a warhead.
And ultimately they drop into the ocean and they're at the bottom of the ocean.
Well, no, I think they drop into the Kwajalein Atoll because they like to retrieve it to do the, I don't know the details. I actually am not an expert on the technical, but it's a test. The dummy represents a hydrogen bomb, the big city killers. This is not a practice. That's why they go so far.
Thousands of miles.
It's 4,700 kilometers or miles. I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. It's a long way. But if you go to the Vandenberg, they now call it Space Force Base out of respect to them. Trump named it that. I'm embarrassed to call them that, but that's what they're called now. If you go to their website, you will see some very interesting material, and they will educate you very thoroughly how proud they are of our missileers that keep us safe and making sure those missiles are both safe and effective.
So the website is Space Force?
No, just put Vandenberg and you'll go right there.
Okay.
You'll see. You'll see. It's all
right.
there.
Nancy, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, McGregor, are these the missiles that were part of the nuclear freeze movement and were discussed then, and people were
Yes.
educated about them then?
Yes, I'll tell you exactly what happened in the SALT talks. They used to have 3 hydrogen bombs in each cone. As part of the reduction, they took 2 out, and now we have 1. But they didn't destroy the 2, they put them in storage. It was one of the weaknesses of the post-Cold War reduction started by Reagan and Gorbachev through the SALT talks and other treaties that. But what happened is we reduced it on paper by 2/3 by reducing the number. They're called MIRVs, M-I-R-V, multiple weapons to kill everybody. I don't know what the hell, that's all nightmarish.
Vehicle.
And what's very interesting is in the test they did in September 6th, they put 3 dummies on it. Now, it makes no difference for the test if there's 1 or 3 dummies, but Greg Mello of the Los Alamos Study Group says putting 3 on is a threat. It's meant to threaten the rest of their report that's published all over the world. Cheryl saw it published in England. They read it all over the world, the Defense Department's report of our tests. They read it in India. They read it in China. They read it in Russia. They read it in Africa. They put 3 dummies on it, and that tells the world we can put the 2 we took off back anytime we want. They're all on hair trigger alert.
Thank you very much for your very newsy item. It's over 5 minutes and it was very informative. Thank you, McGregor.
I'll shut up. Thanks.
So does anybody else have anything that they would like to report on since the last meeting, if you're not on the
timer for me now? I was in a vigil with Andre Sheldon and a few others on Monday regarding both Israel and Palestine. And instead of asking for petition signatures, I interviewed people who were walking by and the members of our vigil. We got 16 respondents, and I have to admit, I sent the results to my my senators and Biden, explaining this is what the majority of people in this area responded in an hour in this vigil. Please take heed. We want peace, basically.
What was the result?
The result is I sent a letter out to.
What was you said you polled people. So how many people said what? I thought you did a poll.
They answered this question. What would you like to tell the president and your other Congress representatives regarding the Israeli-Palestine conflict? One was an Israeli woman. I found this was interesting. She knew we were a peace group. She said, I'm Israeli. I want the Israeli prisoners to be brought back to Israel. Very short and sweet. One was very long. It talked about the complexity of the situation and in more detail. At least 4 people said this is very complex, but we want a humanitarian approach. We want support with food and water, electricity, that sort of thing. And making your decisions. The last young woman, this age range from 14 to 80, or actually older than that. And the basic, hey, we want to take care of the humanitarian needs. It was really good. And the follow-up on that is I was invited through MAPA and 2 other organizations that have been talking to Jake Auchincloss, our representative in Congress. He's a warmonger, to strategize, and we're trying to get him out of office.
Okay. Anybody else?
No deal.
Jean, you've got your hand raised. I muted you. and Odile, you're not muted, so Jean.
Okay. I just wrote an e-news for the Middle East Committee, and I won't tell you what it is. It's about a ceasefire. But what I wanted to tell Disarm is that Lockheed Martin went up 11% since the war in Gaza. General Dynamics went up 7%. So war is good for those. And there is a lot of politicians that are buying some of the stock. And the one that has the most stock is Kevin Hearn, which is going to be the chair of the Congress, the number one politician in terms of purchasing stock during this war. Did you understand?
Yes, yes, but sorry, Kevin, I mean, the new speaker is not Kevin Hearn, so why do you say he is the number one in Congress?
Oh, he's the number one in buying those stocks.
Oh. Okay, but he's just a regular congressman.
Okay.
Right.
He's the number one, the one that is buying most of the stock now. So I thought it was interesting, and we should reflect what the war is doing in terms of weapons. I don't know all of that. Mostly my article was on ceasefire, and you know that there is a resolution in Congress and at the UN also 122 nations signed up to the UN resolution to do ceasefire. Except Austria, they didn't, 14 countries didn't sign because it didn't say that Hamas was the perpetrator of the October 7 attack on Israel. So they felt because the UN resolution didn't state that, they didn't want to sign onto the resolution. Even so, most of them agree that to do a humanitarian stop and to, bring food, water, and everything.
So we're going to be talking about the Gaza-Israel war again further on down. So
okay.
This is about what people have been doing.
That's what I've been involved in that. And I went to 2 local demonstrations that I documented on Instagram.
Okay, good. Great. Jean.
I just wanted to emphasize that it's much easier to get on a Q&A in the media than it used to be because there's an opening, there's an openness. And I spent a year vigiling with Jewish Voice for Peace, which is now really leading a charge with regard to the ceasefire. I had a conversation last week with a geophysicist, oceanographer, and he was thrilled that somebody somewhere was working on nuclear weapons and weapons in general. I just have these conversations because there's this openness and people willing to talk. And I spoke with somebody who was really, really angry about how she had been a vehement supporter of the Israelis and was now opening toward the Palestinians. And it's seeing the change and the revving up of people is really very important. That a new atmosphere, I think, is building.
Okay.
That's true.
All right. Shall we move on to the next, or is there anybody else that hasn't?
This is only if you're not already on the agenda.
Nancy?
Well, I just wanted to say that in Sacramento, the climate activists were converging with the ceasefire activists, which was an interesting development. And also, I thought, watching the Jewish Voice for Peace, how many young people are out all over the world in these huge marches. It's really, I think, a very interesting development.
Very true.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, approval of the Disarm Committee meetings of October the 8th. And does anybody have anything that they want changed? Have you looked at them?
I suspect that Eileen has not looked at them because she hasn't sent me a correction. I did your section, Eileen. In fact, I wasn't even sure if you were there at the last meeting because you didn't appear in my list or Peggy's list. So
Well,
there are some.
I've been having major computer problems and it's still going on. I tried to get your notes and how to get into this meeting. I put your name in and it shifted back to May. And I thought it was all set yesterday. This is what happens sometimes when you upgrade to a new system.
Right. Well, let me suggest, because I know I sent them out very late. I'm sorry, lots of other things to do. So I think we can defer them to the next meeting. Defer the approval. Really, please go, because there are question marks in there. I know there are sections that really don't make sense. And I'm depending on those of you who I'm quoting, look at what I said you said. Did you say that? Or is it a good paraphrase of what you said? Please.
Okay. I'll take a look.
And the rest of you too, because it was a good meeting. There were lots of people here, and we can defer the approval to the next one. And I will try to get this particular meeting's minutes out sooner. Sorry. Margot and I will work on them. Thank you.
So I had like 6 corrections. Do you want me just to put them in? Because the question marks are Ajamu Baraka.
Just tell me, just send me an email with the corrections in,
okay.
Diane. Take the Word document, modify it as per.
Yeah, and again, the acronyms, when I couldn't find them before, so we can maybe try to fill in what I didn't know what CREF was, or anyway. Okay, I'll try to do that.
Yeah, it's a good idea not to use acronyms. Avoid it.
They don't use the acronym. I mean, they only use the acronym TIA CREF. It's how everybody knows it. It's a pension plan,
That's what I was wondering. Okay, but I'll send the changes that I found.
Just to me, thank you, Diane.
Yep. Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay, we're moving on to hot topics. We have a total of 16 minutes. There's several things here. First is the Gaza-Israel war. How are we responding? WILPF suggested actions. Calendar of resistance for Palestine and events and actions around the world. There's a link in the agenda for that. Cheryl, did you have anything that you want to say to trigger this conversation?
Well, I'm hoping that you're all keeping track of what's going on. You've already heard Odile and Jean mention General Assembly on Friday, 120 votes for a humanitarian pause. As you all, I keep telling you, I watch the BBC News online, very up to date. There was a day and a half where somebody managed to cut off everybody's internet and phone connections. So you had ambulances didn't know where to go because the people who needed them couldn't message them. And they've now brought it back. This was at the beginning of their so-called second stage of the invasion by Israel into Gaza. And so they've got people on the ground there. They're bombing, within 50 meters of a very large hospital in Gaza, in the northern part of Gaza, with 400 patients and 14,000 people sheltering there. And I think they managed to get an agreement that they wouldn't bomb that area anymore, because all of this bombing is contrary to the rules of law, and you're not supposed to bomb anywhere where there's civilians. So it is an atrocious. Oh, and then the water got turned back on, right? Oh, miraculously, the water got turned back on. So people in the south, right? They asked and they got 600,000 people to move south and below the line where they were told to move, and they've been bombed mercilessly for the last 10 days since they moved. It is if you were a famous filmmaker trying to make a film about this war, you wouldn't have thought of it being this terrible. It's just horrific. And so I think you all need to, even though it's hurt, it doesn't make you happy. It hurts us to watch this, but I think you need to be watching this stuff and keeping track, so that you understand what's going on. And then and then write to, there are many times a day I get, please sign this to tell your congresswoman, to vote so that they don't, for a humanitarian pause, not even a stop, a pause, So all those emails you're getting from various organizations you belong to, asking you to contact your Congress people, contact the president. You need to be doing this. And then WILPF International sent you an email the other day with their statements and what have you. So, and if you can get out on the streets, so be it. The streets in London, hundreds of thousands of people out.
1.5 million.
Nearly right. Okay.
1.5 million in London, 1 million in Istanbul.
Yeah. So thank you. So let Diane and Andre have a word. Thank you.
Okay, so there's Rashida Tlaib is having a webinar right now.
Yes.
So that would I would love to be on that too. But what was I going to say? I had something else, but I can't
who
remember.
is Rashida? Remind me, who is Rashida?
She is a Michigan Democratic for Michigan 12.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So Andre, why don't you go ahead, and then Diane, if you think of it.
Yes, thank you. I think the world's headed for disaster. These wars are enabling militarism to grow and grow and grow. It's the worst thing that could have ever happened. But the people that you just mentioned that are around the world that are rising up, all that's needed now is a plan and a stimulus. And the stimulus is women. It's right. WILPF's mission statement. It's the time to spread it around the world. That's my recommendation. That's what I work for every day. You women in WILPF have, since 1915, have said it the best. It's the world needs women, and I'm a supporter of that, and I'm trying to facilitate things happening. That's my function. So I'm sad, I'm angry, but we need controlled anger. And so I all of a sudden realized that when the violence diminishes and subsides, because it will eventually, we have to be ready. That's the moment to strike right then. And so that's what I'm working on. How can we mobilize this so it's continuous? The same thing, that it's a global ceasefire. And that's what I think is we need now, because the men are not going to stop. The only way for the men to solve the problems is violence and war. Thank you.
Diane, did you think of what you wanted to say?
Yeah, so I didn't understand why the United States has always voted against these ceasefires in the UN. I mean, I don't know the reasoning behind it. I mean, evidently we've done it for like and we just did it recently again. And I don't think most people know about it. And so I just, I was just wondering if anybody knew about it, what the reasoning people give for voting against a ceasefire.
Because China and Russia vote for it.
And there was some other technical thing this time that wasn't there or was there or something, some we can't vote for that,
And
Okay.
because their business is weapons.
Well, okay. Just, I mean, okay. Thank you.
Heads up, we have 3 more minutes. Keep it short.
Cheryl?
Because to answer Diane, Bill O'Reilly was on Cuomo, and he has pictures probably of us, along with Pope Francis as his chief culprit, as asking for a ceasefire, because he said, this is weakness. It means giving in to a dictator, and they will, meaning Hamas, I guess. I didn't follow it that closely. But if you give in, they will just consider you weak and they will take advantage of you. At least this was his reasoning. So that's one answer to you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Cheryl
so
and Robin.
okay, I've forgotten what I
Okay,
was
then
going to say.
Robin, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll come back to me, please.
You're muted.
The woman who voted against the ceasefire, of course, was our representative to the United Nations, Linda Thompson Greenfield. And I've sent out a few notices saying we should ask her to resign. She's apparently a kind of, what do you call it, she's been a diplomat for ages. A career diplomat is the word, but she represented all of Africa for the State Department at a certain point. And surely she knows that the African nations are not supporting these wars. And she's an African American woman. Please resign, Linda. Don't feel you have to follow Biden's policy. So now, just one detail on that, and Cheryl knows it, is that our group that's going at the end of November for the Non-Proliferation Treaty renewal or
PPNW
studying process wants to meet with her, and we might have that opportunity, or at least to a representative. Of course, that's a month from now, but I really think this needs to be a proposal. Why is she voting that way? Except that her boss tells her to.
Yeah, right.
So
Exactly.
just to apologize to Andre, he's been sending me updates of the letters he wants us to send out to take account of this recent horrific happenings in Gaza. And Andre, I will be getting to them, but it sounded like you wanted us to wait until this calms down to actually send them, rather than sending them now. These letters to women leaders that we were asked to send.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, with regards to the letters, yes, I'd like to ask to continue what we were doing. But my thought process is that when if we can start the emergency plan sooner than originally planned, so to get it going right away, so that by the time that the violence does subside, that people know about it by then.
Okay, fine. So thank you. We'll
Time's up, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. So that was, you've just given us the 10 minutes I suggested. Is that what you just gave us? Right.
I gave you 10 minutes. Yeah.
Right. And previously Odile and other people had spoken for 4 or 5 minutes each on this issue. So.
And I even mentioned my little bit too.
Well, why don't we move on, and then if we have more that we want to say, we can do it towards the end. Ukraine, current planning by the Peace in Ukraine Coalition.
Yeah, well,
are you the only one who's in that, or is there anybody else?
Well, I'm the one who represents us at the planning meetings, and so so we had that big week of action, and now we're trying to work out what next to do. All right, and so you will be hearing from us when we have come up with a good plan, is all I could say. Of course, Ukraine has been rather pushed out of the headlines by the Gaza issue, and so we're biding our time and working out what we're going to do next. But you'll be hearing from me for the Peace in Ukraine coalition. But you'll remember our main message is no more weapons to Ukraine. Similarly, no more helping Israeli and sending help to Israel just to bomb the hell out of Gaza. So it's the same message on each one. Thank you. Nancy.
Well, of course, a similar message is the human rights violations and the International Criminal Court. So, I mean, there's a way to connect these two very specifically.
Yep. Thank you. Let's move on.
Is that it?
Nuclear war. Yeah.
Diffuse nuclear war, which McGregor talked about. Cheryl, did you want to talk about that?
Well, we had a meeting on the 16th of October, and again, diffuse nuclear war is just the head of a bunch of coalition of a bunch of organizations, and each time they say, well, what do you all want to do? And so they look at what people reply, and then they come up with some action. So again, the ICBM is a very specific action that McGregor is heading there, but you will be hearing from diffuse nuclear war via me in the near future when we work out some more actions. But later on you'll hear about other things to do with nuclear weapons. Diffuse nuclear war just gets a bunch of people, organizations to plan coordinated. The issue is to be coordinated in your actions, and that hopefully gets you more noticed by the media. Doesn't always work that way. Apparently you need 1.5 million people out to be noticed. So I'm done with the 4C.
Okay. All right. Campaign reports. Number 1 is continue to press for disarmament. Cheryl?
Yeah, McGregor already did her bit. So as Nancy reminded you all, there are going to be 6 of us from Disarm going to New York City on the 26th of November for 5 days, when all the states who have ratified the treaty are sitting down to work out the details. The treaty doesn't have a great deal of detail. So now they're down to, well, exactly how are we going to do this? How are we going to monitor that people are abiding by the treaty when they've said they're not going to have any weapons, nuclear weapons in their geographic area? How are we going to check, what process will we do? Do we need a process? Do we need inspectors to go out every 2 years and check with them that they've not got any nuclear weapons? So all this is what the diplomats will be talking about. We will be in side events, and I've given you there a list in the agenda, 2 different links. So what ICANN is asking is that there be a global actions on November the 26th. That's a Sunday. That's the meeting officially starts the next day, and it's there in the agenda. They want you to think of some local action where you can bring attention to this treaty in your local newspapers, writing to your congressperson, all the usual stuff that we ask you to do. And they've got resources. If you go to that page, there's actually resources to help you, templates of things. So they would like some people out on the streets too. And so that depends on all of people like yourselves. I'm sure my branch, we go out on the street every Friday. So we just do whatever it is we're asked to do that week. We do it on the Friday lunchtime. So, which is what my group has been doing for peace, to get humanitarian aid into Gaza, etc. So we pivot every time there's a change. We pivot to the latest issue. So I will be talking more with Susie Snyder. You see her name. She's the ICANN, one of the big ICANN coordinators, and she's trying to get a state, that is to say a country, to co-sponsor this divestment side event. So if you look at all the side events, you won't see one there yet on divestment from nuclear weapons companies, but it will be because she's trying to get, I think, New Zealand to actually co-sponsor the side event. And then we get into a bigger room. That's the deal. So she hasn't finished that organization yet, but there will be plenty for the 6 of us who are going to this event all week. There's things we shall be doing. We're going to request a meeting with Linda Thomas Greenfield, through the State Department website. That's the only way you can reach these people, is to send a message. So I'm guessing she's a bit busy at the moment, knocking down ceasefire requests. But we will, at an opportune moment, write to her department and say we'd like to meet her. The mission, the US mission, is just literally across the street. There will be a demonstration outside it, actually, on the Tuesday. I think 9 o'clock in the morning. There'll be a bunch of us demonstrating against the US's whatever they're doing wrong. And so anyway, so those of you who are on this Odile and Robin and Martha and other people, I will be in touch with you some more about all of that as we get closer, so we coordinate well, because there'll be lots of things going on at the same time. So because we are 6, 2 of us can go to one event, 2 other people can go to some other event. So we cover everything that's going on, so we can report back. So
let me just jump in and say that I'm trying the best I can to get there on Sunday for the
campaigners
rally and all that. And of course, this is right after Thanksgiving, and who knows what whether the trains will have any vacancies. But I'm doing my best to get to that Sunday and stay at least for a couple of days.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Okay, I'm done. I think, unless anybody has any questions, but just keep looking at your email about this. Yes, Jean.
Where is that meeting?
Please don't interrupt me. You did it once before.
I am sorry.
I want to say something. We have to think of ourselves as organizers. We're not just attendees, we're organizers. When I organized the side event, I had very simple flyers, and handing out flyers in that madcap, almost dizzying situation where you have so much competition is the best way to get people to come to your event. So we need to have flyers for whatever we're focused on. Very simple, very clear location, time, and urge people to come. Not just go ourselves, just go ourselves, but think of ourselves as organizers.
Yeah. Well, we'll be coordinating with Susie on this, making sure that everybody knows when we finally get the divestment side event going. So Odile, if you go to the agenda and you go to the second URL in the item in the agenda, that has all the events going on, and you will find the one on the Sunday. The campaigners meeting is in a place called Brick Church in northern part of Manhattan. That's where, and I'm getting up ungodly early in Minneapolis to catch a 6 a.m. plane so I can be there at 9:30 and get to that meeting. Okay.
And I will be here.
Yeah, and those of you who are there earlier, you can get to the meeting with less trouble. Thank you very much. And we can go to item.
What about identification tags? Because that was a big problem.
Yes, well, we're going to have to go to the pass office. We're going to, when November the 10th, we're not going to hear till November the 10th that we've been accredited and allowed. And then you're going to start hearing from Diane Barnes. And then I'm going to need you all to follow the instructions. So then we'll go to the pass office at 9 o'clock on Monday morning and get our passes. And I will be explaining all this to the delegate, the 6 of us who are going. The other people don't need to know all the details. But yes, you have to follow the rules when you go to the UN. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Next topic.
Next topic is Norton's bill, and I think that it fits in with warheads to windmills. I'm looking at the last 3 chapters of the book that Tim and Wallace is writing, about to publish, or about to finish on, for the warheads to windmills. And he's done a really good job with it, and everybody should get it once it comes out.
Well, we all have the pamphlet about it.
Yeah.
Is there, that read that first, because
Yeah, yeah, and that's online. Just go to warheadstowindmills.org, and the publication is right there, and that's also excellent. But he goes through the various bills and resolutions that are in Congress right now, and talks about who's been signing on and so forth. And he does say that he doesn't think anything is going to happen, but it's important that we keep telling the legislators what we think about it anyway, because that's the only way we're going to get anywhere. And we all know that. Reports on actions within our various coalitions. That's, yeah. Do we have anything else?
Well, I did go to the 14th. Oh, sorry. I did go to the 14th of October webinar. I think some of you were also there, where we heard people from the climate side of things telling us about, how transportation feeds into the climate crisis, the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. And there were people from the Back from the Brink campaign, and there were people talking about climate justice, where often the people who suffer most from climate change are poor, indigenous people of color in the US. So there is a recording now of that webinar. I do believe that it was sent to anybody who had registered, whether you went or not. So they are trying to get more people from the climate side into the coalition to show the connections. And along that line, they have this amazing idea that there'll be those of us sitting in New York City at the second meeting of the states parties of the TPNW, and then the COP28 is going on at the same time in Dubai, which is the capital of the United Arab Emirates. And so there will be people there. There is a WILPF lady from Geneva there. So he's trying to make a live stream hookup. So we'll get people sitting in Dubai at the COP28, looking at climate change from a military point of view, and then us sitting in New York City at the TPNW. And to have it's not clear to me yet exactly what we'll do. But anyway, there'll be a hookup with, I don't know, 10 hours between us to highlight these things.
It'll be happening towards the end of it, so that people will be reporting to each other about what's been going on, according to.
Right. So I think that's, Tim and Vicky come up with some great ideas. and so that's one of the things that they're doing. And I have here, any webinars you attended worth reporting on is the other thing. I mean, I've been to so many webinars. I will mention one later in the treaties section. But by and large, if you go to one or you registered and you get the link to it, the recording, please just send it to Disarm Discussion so the rest of us can listen to what happened.
Yes.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yes. Anyone else? Okay, interacting with the media. Gloria is not here.
I am here.
Oh, you are? There you are. Hi. Okay.
Did I come late? Did this start half an hour ago or something?
Started at 7:30.
7:30. What time?
Eastern.
It's 5:30 here.
Okay.
An hour ago it started, Gloria.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was starting at
Yeah.
yeah.
Just tell us what you have to tell us. We all know the problems of these timings.
Okay. So what do you want me to report?
Do you have anything to report?
Yes. I have the whole big thing in Chicago to report. That's media. We have the full support of WTTW Chicago. You may have heard of it. It's a very big PBS affiliate. And they are emceeing our soft restart. Now, where we're rather needing to improve is to get more people from the community of Chicago, a small organizing committee set up. And, you know, I've talked to Teresa Elamine, called me today and discussed organizing strategies. And she's convinced, she's probably right, that, you know, you can't just get people from here and there to come and speak at Zooms. You have to get people from the community to be an organizing committee. And that is true. And that's going to be one of our first goals out of this meeting. We hope we can get enough of a turnout from Chicago area people to get a small organizing committee. But we do have some great communications with WTTW. We have one of their reporters is going to be the MC, and her superior, who is the assignments producer of WTTW, is also very excited about getting this going. So they are in communications. I know what Teresa is saying. I am well aware of one-on-one. She'll go over and over this with people. You have to build one-on-one. You have to have one person talk to another. Well, we've tried that. I think we have tried that too. But nowadays, communications can move people. It can make people aware that something exists, make it visible. So that's why we're also following communications. And I think that more attention needs to be paid in Disarm and in every aspect of our peace activism, to know that unless you're in the communications links and people can see you, then you can't have an effect, because just reaching a few people. So, I mean, yes, it still is important to do human one-on-one communications, but I think that we also can do a lot more with media and broadcast media. So I hope you'll all attend. I really do, because I think this is a first, where you have someone from a major TV station acting as the MC. That's one of the 2 or 3 top PBS stations in the country, folks. And one of their TV people is going to come and MC. And they have been, not only that, but they did just a week ago a WTTW show about Jane Addams, a whole hour show on Chicago TV about Jane Addams that mentioned WILPF and talked about WILPF, and also talked about how J. Edgar Hoover harassed her. So, you know, this is going to be on November 4th. We have been sending we've been sending these announcements out everywhere, but I will put it into the link, you know, how it's on the WILPF Facebook page, the registration. We have sent it to the branches list. I believe the registration was right in one of the communications from Cheryl, but I will also put it in the chat. It is called the Chicago Branch Relaunch, and I will put that in the chat. I will also put in the 1 hour long show on Jane Addams that was done on October 20th at WTTW. No other station will mention peace and how Edgar G, I can't even say his name, whatever his name, J. Edgar Hoover, you know, persecuted this woman for 10 years. And that's why she got the Nobel Peace Prize. And they talk about it. They talk about what it cost her and how many people dropped Hull House because of her peace refusal to go into World War I and to support it. What other station would put that on the air these days? So you have to go with where they know Jane Addams and they're not ashamed of what she did. And that, you know, I have these discussions with Teresa. She gave me a very hard time saying Chicago's nothing special. And I want you to understand my position. My position isn't that it's special to be from Chicago, but what is special in media and communications is that, 1, Jane Addams is known there. 2, the major PBS station will actually appear and MC our event. And 3, that they are putting out these shows which will mention what was done to the people who were for peace.
I have something to say.
Go ahead. Gloria, you're amazing. Thank you. Your time is up for 4 minutes. Okay.
Sure. Robin.
Yeah, yeah, I've been trying to follow your directions, Gloria, and I attended my Vermont public meeting last a couple of weeks, but now I'm not exactly sure whether the Jane Addams film is going to be shown or has not, or I mean, I don't want to complain to them if they are showing it. I guess I have to look at their calendar for the next few weeks and see whether the Jane Addams film,
Yeah.
what is the title of it?
May I answer that? The title is Jane Addams. It's part of Chicago Stories on WTTW, PBS affiliate, Chicago. Chicago Stories, Jane Addams, Together We Rise.
Okay.
That's the official title. And yeah, I will put a link to that. I was trying to do that as you were asking. Now I can't do that, but I'll get the link in there to it, and also to the registration information for the restart.
Yeah, so they may have done it.
Well, no, what you have to do is just put in, here's how you do it. You search the key terms. One is the call letters of your station, and then you have to get the title just right and put it in quotation marks. And if it comes up with nothing, that means they haven't shown it.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. It'll come up if they've shown it.
Yeah. So the point is that this was made as part of a series that's just talking about Chicago, and so the Chicago PBS was willing to
and
include
another
it.
one of the shows was about Ida B. Wells,
who is also a Chicago person. So now the effort is you have to extract just they've been doing this. This is the third series. They've got 25 different things about Chicago people and Chicago. So now you've got to persuade your PBS, your local station, to just take that one article that happens to be in the Chicago series and show it in your local one. So that's what your job is. Okay. And I did send an email with some of those links in it. I gave you can see it on YouTube, actually. You don't actually, if you want to see it, but what you're trying, Thank you.
And you can get it directly here. Let me see. I'm finding it now, hopefully.
Right.
I'll put it in chat. I'm sorry. It's the next person's time. I don't want to step on anyone's time.
Yes, thank you. Because guess who's next?
Next is you, Eileen.
Yeah, I am promoting something I promoted before because I don't think it's being done. I have put this to the Peace and Freedom, and I have a feeling it may be overlooked. It's a letter that I would very much want you to, or a version of similar, that I want you all to send to your legislators. And of course, it's about AI. It goes like this. This will be about a 4-minute read. There's a saying, what goes around comes around. Or if you treat others badly, eventually someone will treat you badly. This saying is appropriate for the way the US has been treating many people in other countries for decades, as it overthrows elected leaders, grabs oil, minerals, and other resources, and provokes, makes, and supports wars. The wealth gained by a small percentage of people from these activities is now going into the development of new weapons, which I think would level the playing field. I'm referring to artificial intelligence, AI, which is loosely defined, McGregor, as the ability of computer or computer-controlled robot to perform tasks commonly associated with intelligent beings. I think it's a possible leveler because many clever beings could develop autonomous weapons using AI. Some American researchers worry about this. They also know that with complex weapon systems, mistakes will occur. And it's a footnoted for number 1, for expert opinion on R&D and AI weapons, read Paul Schar's Army of None, Autonomous Weapons and the Future of War. I continue. I question the wisdom of using these technical advances not accompanied by a sense of global responsibility and ethical awareness that could pave the way to disaster. Thank you, partner, on helping me with this. Like nuclear weapons, I question how useful AI weapons will be. If you use AI weapons on an enemy's homeland, and if your adversary also has them, when your adversary strikes back, your country will be devastated, making it clearly a suicidal option. And if your adversary doesn't have AI weapons, it is not war, it's genocide. Will AI weaponry be a deterrent? Not to some Pentagon AI specialists who fear with time a rogue group or nation will destroy us. As a member of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, WILPF, and 108-year-old peace organization, I ask you to take a safer and saner approach to global security. Use AI for peacemaking, arms control, and the avoidance of war, or at least to avoid unnecessary killing in war. Keep humans in the final decision-making of autonomous weapons. Seriously consider switching out of a war economy to a global peace economy before we destroy ourselves. Respectfully. I'm putting this in our chat. Please copy it and make your own version and write to your legislators. They're learning about this. They're being indoctrinated by the warmongers that are in Congress. They need something else to think about. And their office helpers are going to read this and hopefully share this info with them. That's my blurb.
I think it would be better if you would send it to us in an email, Eileen, rather than putting it in the chat. Many people here tell me they can't save the chat. Could you send?
I've done that. I will do that as well. I've put in 2 paragraphs in. I've got 2 more to do for those who can copy and paste. Okay.
Yeah, an email I think is more likely.
I'll do both.
Do both. Thank you. So just to say, you're thinking of weapons organized by under the command of an artificial intelligence machine learning program that are bigger than the big drones that we hear about? Because you could only actually destroy the world if you're having these machines send off nuclear weapons. You won't destroy the world with just a drone dropping a bomb, a regular bomb. So you're thinking about a bigger use of AI than currently. You were talking about kind of robots on the ground.
No, I haven't been talking about robots on the ground for a long time.
Yes, that's why I want to make sure we're catching up with you, because that, that's so you're talking about missiles that are told to fire off by some AI program, that there is no human in the loops deciding that it was a good idea to send this missile with a nuclear weapon on it, right? That's what you're talking about.
There are clusters that can go into a city and wipe out people. There are clusters that can go into a ship and drill in and make holes to, although many of them are metal, to destroy ships. There's all kinds of weaponry that is being designed, and to think of one little drone walking around is, the thing of
flying
at this point.
So maybe you could just put a couple of those bigger examples in the letter, so that we have a feel for how destructive these things could be, even more than what we already heard about with drones. Thank you.
Thanks for the suggestion. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. How many chips are used at each drone? I mean, I know that's not a question you could answer, but I asked the question because the largest factory in Vermont is called Global Foundries. And Global Foundries just got a $3 million grant from the Defense Department. And Global Foundries makes chips. So, I mean, the point is, weapons today are not just guns, you know, they are things like chips. But of course, I know nothing about chips.
35 million.
35 million what?
Duncan says Global Foundries got $35 million.
Okay.
Not 3 million, but just yeah.
35
I'm in Vermont too, so yeah.
Yeah, so our Vermont folks here, of which we are 3 of us, we need to research this and see what we can do about it. As I say, it's the biggest employer in Vermont. So of course, Bernie Sanders will say, oh, this is great. This is giving jobs.
You know, it's really hard. Everything I read about chips, which are made in Taiwan, or finished in Taiwan, if nothing else, it needs some really good experienced people, and they need to be trained properly. That takes almost a year to train people properly, from what I hear. We're way behind.
Well, we're going to get ahead at our local plant here because people are going to be trained in making them. I think that's the point.
Yeah. Well, there's another plant farther south as well, and one in Germany as well. This is the first time I heard about Vermont. I think it's pretty cool.
Gloria has her hand raised.
Yeah, Gloria, is that an adequate definition?
You're muted.
Oh.
Gloria, we can't hear you.
I turned off my phone, my mic, and I know what it was going to be. It's about the UN. You didn't mention the UN, Eileen. Aren't they doing some kind of studies on this or attempting to regulate it?
UN has been doing meetings with it, and they're stalled. Because
they're the ones that have the leverage.
No one is agreeing. It's been really a pisser.
What about the EU and the regionals like the EU?
I think the EU is doing a little better, but my information is now a month old.
So that is where I would put my attention, to try to reach those bodies that can make prohibitive laws or, strict regulations about ethics and things of that nature.
I'm having a hard time getting that information. I sent some to I don't know how to say this. Margot and I did a lot of reading on this stuff, and it was hard to sometimes piece together where things are coming from. And sometimes it felt like rhetoric with that hasn't been set into law. And sometimes it was what seemed like law. Margot, if you have any suggestions on or responses, I appreciate your 4 cents.
Yes. Let me be sure I hope I'm unmuted now. Good. I think that the angle of law that I've been looking at, international law, is Jean Pictet, who was a former vice president of the International Committee of the Red Cross, had a principle which I think should apply to these automated systems as much as it applies to anything else, that you do not kill someone in warfare if you can capture them. If you can put them out of action by capturing them or by wounding them, you shouldn't be trying to kill them. And I think, and the point is, if you had robots, you could use them to reduce the level of violence in warfare. And the United States, ironically, has the technological sophistication that was probably one of the countries in the best position to do it. But traditionally, the USA has been promoting lethality in warfare. It's regrettable that international forums, it's trying to minimize the importance of language that reduces the use of lethal force in warfare. And it's an interesting ideological conflict, but I think it definitely affects these systems, because you could use robots to do certain kinds of things to protect human beings from being killed in warfare, probably reduce the level of violence. I don't want to sound like I'm promoting warfare. It's a good idea. And that's always a conflict. You come up with non-lethal alternatives, you have the risk that you make warfare appear less unacceptable. I don't want to do that. However, I think compared to the use of this emphasis on lethal autonomous weapons, I think I think technically it might be maybe machine learning rather than artificial intelligence in a strict sense. And I know Gloria has spoken a little bit on that distinction, that a lot of things that are called AI are not really full-fledged AI. But I think just looking at from a human rights perspective, and I know the International Committee on the Red Cross has written some interesting books on the topic of using human rights models more and reducing arbitrary killing in warfare. And I could see ways you could use automation to do that. I don't want to go on too long because I know this is already a long meeting, but that's the angles I've been looking at.
Thanks, Marco. I think my time's up. And is there anything pressing left over? Okay, let's go on.
Okay, the next is the new campaign, Law Not War, Nuclear Weapons and International Law, the renewed imperative in light of the Russian invasion of Ukraine via Zoom on November 8th.
Yes, so first of all, there is now a new campaign that we have joined, and there was a webinar on the 23rd of October that I and hopefully some of the rest of you went to. This is essentially started out of our Global Zero European and Australian colleagues, okay? So they're coming back to say, you know, we should follow the international law, we should allow the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice to adjudicate on conflicts rather than having a war about it. And so they had these very knowledgeable speakers. I mean, this concept of using the law instead of going to war is what treaties are all about. And so they had a gentleman from New Zealand who was a judge in the International Court of Justice for 9 years. He's a faculty of law professor. They had a gentleman from Mexico who was the representative for Mexico to the UN for many years. They had somebody from Citizens for Global Solutions, which is similar to us. It's been around a long time, talking about what they're trying to advance and advocate for. So people from Japan speaking, from Sri Lanka. So it was a very international event, because that's what Abolition 2000 and Global Zero managed. They have connections with all these people, and they had quite a large attendance apparently. So what's coming up is on November the 8th, and I've given you there how to register for that webinar, which the time zone will depend where you live. So again, they are trying to connect nuclear weapons and using the international law that exists, that actually says that nuclear weapons are forbidden material because they kill citizens. You can't stop them from killing citizens at the same time as they're killing combatants. So I think you would all be better informed on this one aspect of treaties by attending that November the 8th event. But it's a campaign, it's a coalition. We have endorsed it. We got the president to sign on, our president, Darian, to sign on to this new campaign. So please, I think it's a good idea, believing in the fact that treaties should be used rather than, currently we solve conflicts by fighting each other. This is trying to come back to this very old idea that we talk about it instead. Thank you. That's all I have to say. So, Margot, hopefully you're keeping up with where we are on the agenda. So that was 5, little 6. And so now we're down to Robin.
Collaborate with WILPF sections in Africa and work against AFRICOM. Robin.
Okay. Well, I fell through on a certain level, and that is we had a wonderful meeting yesterday in Burlington, which was sort of honoring the demise of Toward Freedom magazine, which has existed for 71 years. And wow, I have a booklet that was created in honor of those 70 years that honors the editors and some of the writers, and its special focus on the non-aligned movement and on Africa. And I wanted to get the sections from Africa to zoom in, because we did have a Zoom ability. We did have someone on from Niger and another person from Washington, D.C., but I should have researched how to reach the sections in Africa earlier, because, you know, they don't do email. I think many of them don't even do Facebook. Now, maybe someone here
They do Instagram.
Instagram. Okay, Instagram. And yeah, so how do you reach them? And anyway, I was just at the last minute scrambling to try to, at least I feel the international website is not very clear, because, you know, our international president is from Cameroon, and you would think her email would be readily available. And the one from Congo is very active and has done lots of work. But somehow it seemed very hard to actually get the link through. I didn't pay enough attention to try to do that, but I still want to, because our project of that day was based on Pan-Africanism, and our speaker was Danaka Legote, who some people from the Washington branch are acquainted with. Teresa knows him. And he is one of the key people at setting up the structure for this Pan-African conference that is happening next October in Togo. Where is Togo? Togo is one of those skinny little countries on the west coast of Africa. And so we here are planning to have webinars of some sort in the memory of Toward Freedom, and Toward Freedom's focus on the developing world or the non-aligned movement, to raise it up and help people be aware that that Africa, those countries are still facing the colonialism that the rest of the world thinks they got rid of back in 1958, when Kwame Nkrumah declared independence for the Gold Coast and called it Ghana. So that was the initial break from colonialism, but of course, economic colonialism continued from then and is existing now. And so this Pan-African Congress, I think, is going to be a very interesting event. It's the 9th Congress of Pan-Africanism. So that is my report. I'm going to try to, does anyone else here have a good connection with some of the African sections? I mean, when you go online, I just find it very...
Jean, you're on mute. Jean?
I sent you a message per chat, on the chat.
Message about what?
About Africa.
Oh, okay.
And
We
being
can help
in
you.
touch.
She will help you by using Instagram. If you tell her what you want to say to these people, Odile is using Instagram and will help you.
Okay. All right. Great.
You talk to her by email.
And Nigeria is often on Instagram.
Uh-huh.
But it's Niger that she was talking about, though.
I know,
Niger's
but
different.
Nigeria is very big.
Okay, but you mean WILPF Nigeria or just
Yes, I have a lot of WILPF. I will send you an email with all the WILPF section I am in touch with.
Beautiful.
Per Instagram.
Okay, lovely. I will I will be grateful for that.
Jean has her hand raised.
Yeah. 2 years ago in Ghana, there was a magnificent international congress, and it was attended by Eileen and myself, and probably some others. If you look in the archives of our international WILPF office, you can find a lot of reports on Africa, which would bring us up to date. And there is a great deal going on, of course. Especially, we were honored with speakers from South Africa, for example. It's true that there is still a colonial aftermath, but it was really, really a moving experience. I think maybe Eileen would agree with me. I don't know. I'm speaking for her.
Yes,
It
very
was
much so.
superlative. I mean, Ghana is a marvelous country. I just was thrilled to be there.
Thanks, Jean.
Okay, are we done with this? Okay. Work with other issue committees and working groups. Number 1 is Earth Democracy. Nancy, do you have anything to report?
Well, not to report specifically, but I'd just like to point out that in regard to what we cover in Earth Democracy, when you look at what's happening both in Ukraine and Gaza and the West Bank, you see how devastating the environment is and the poisoning of air, land, and water. I read a report saying that so many people now there are experiencing asthma, serious asthma, because of all the dust and the debris kicking up. And so we can look at some of the impact on the earth. I think that's very important to include, not to forget that that's going to be a very poisoned environment after this is all over, and even now, of course. Thank you.
Okay. Odile, do you have anything to add about the Middle East peace and justice?
I think I told you most of it, that I was right. I just wrote any news, but it was about ceasefire, mainly focused on that the family of the kidnap of the hostage have a center in Israel in which they support themselves and do lobbying. But Prime Minister Netanyahu says that his first objective is to destroy Gaza, and the second objective only is hostage. So we don't know. They're using phosphorus weapon into the tunnel. They're going to use some other gas there. We don't know exactly, but that's what they're doing, and we are afraid that they're not focusing on the hostage, on the 222, but they were 4 released, 222 Israeli hostage. Of course, it's small potato compared to what the Palestinians are going through right now, and all the deaths, up to 8,000 now, deaths in Gaza, and many wounded. I don't know the number, but there is 40% of them, of the deaths, are children. And so it's a terrible situation. And it's just that they are using Hamas as an excuse to destroy the whole population there. And I want to remind you that one of our members had written that outside of Gaza, in the sea, there were large resource of oil that was found. So I think they want to destroy the population to be able to get access to the oil that is there. And that's a part of it. The second, they even using religion, because very religious extremist right parties are, so it's very, for Jews, it's very depressing that they use the Torah to justify their war. And we had 200 Jews being arrested in Central Station in New York, saying not in our name and ceasefire. So I don't know, even here, even so I have a progressive group. I told them that there were a huge demonstration in Detroit at Art Plaza, but they didn't want to know that people are in pain about their family or extended family in Israel, and they're not ready to, support other people's deaths, or even to start speaking about making peace. Is too early for all that.
Wow. But listen, this is a growing disaster, and I think WILPF, Disarm especially, should be beating the drum to get more. I mean, here in Vermont, we're petitioning our one representative to support a ceasefire. Apparently, she's come around to supporting a humanitarian pause. That took her a long time to decide that, but I've noticed that people have been
deep breath.
They've been sitting in on their Congress people. We should be doing that. We should be besieging them. We have to create a movement.
Many members are doing that. Many of our members in the Middle East Committee are doing that.
Oh, okay.
But that's what our e-news is about, asking members to do multiple calls to their representative. Don't stop at one.
Okay.
To your senators, to your Congress. Just do it very often, as much as you can, and engage your communities doing that also.
It's so frustrating.
Right. I think that's the best, Disarm can do is to encourage, that all these things you've been asked by various emails, just to do it. And if you've got you could go down to your local congresswoman or person's office and stand outside with some signs, because that they take notice. This is just my experience in Palo Alto. They do take notice. They count how many emails are we getting about this, that, and the other. And so even 10 emails on the same topic, I'm told, is enough for a congressperson to say, maybe I should have another thought about this. Okay, so
we've got time limit, 10 more minutes for the rest of the section that we're.
I just want to say that some of them are doing things but not saying anything publicly about it. So that is true of SU, for example, Cheryl.
Okay. Did I just add one more part to what I was saying, which is that November 4th, at least here in Vermont, I think elsewhere, is a big day for demonstration. It's in Washington, isn't it? Or in other words, a national demonstration. We're having a local one here, but to call your friends and say, will you come with me? Phone calls. I think phone calls are what's needed now to talk to people and get them to commit to caring about this, because everyone's sitting at home. And we had someone on Church Street, our major street, that said ceasefire now, and and people are just walking by, you know, sort of, a few people did stop, but there needs to be more.
It's the same in Ann Arbor. Not a lot of people are stopping by. We have a vigil every Friday, and last Friday we have a huge sign that says ceasefire. We are about 10 people, but still not a lot of people are really interested in joining in. It's still very small.
Mm-hmm. Same here. Thank you. We have to move on.
Right, Eileen. I just wondered, this oil you were talking about. So Odile, they found some oil in the ocean off of Gaza.
Yes.
That's where, yes, in under the sea.
You
and
know
that's
what is,
yeah, fine.
Robin,
That's okay. That's enough.
Robin, what is the name of the woman that write about pipeline politics? Charlotte. She explained all that. And she said it's going to change. Well, it's changing things already.
Bennett.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's Diane next.
Oh, Nancy.
No tomato.
Okay, I think Nancy wants to say something too. But real quick, there's the walk that I thought was across the country, I guess is coming down from Maine. It's along the coast now that they're going to have. That will end that weekend before the NATO 75th meeting. And also they, this group wants a sponsorship. They want, and they're asking for $1,000. Nancy, did you want to say something?
What's the name of the group?
The No to NATO, Yes to Peace. So they plan to have a something like at a church, a conference on Saturday and Sunday. They have the Lafayette Park. They have a permit already to have demonstrations, and they're going to have music, and so it's the rally on Sunday, and then you know, on Saturday. This is the weekend before the June 9th, the July 9th through 11th, 75th NATO. Nancy?
Unmute.
Thank you. I think it's very important that we also maybe make up some kind of sheet that that we encourage members and branches to organize locally events with their allies and friends in their community, because it really needs to be more than just a big demonstration in Washington, D.C. It needs to be both educational and mobilization. And we could also raise this $1,000 by various ways. You know, Earth Democracy gets $500 a year, and we could take some of that money. So could Disarm to put toward this $1,000. I think a variety of peace groups are putting in money in order to help pay for things in Washington, D.C. Excuse me. In addition to which, we might want to create a 3x5, excuse me, handout that we can use that explains some of the facts about NATO and why our position is no to NATO, yes to peace. Explain the history and a little bit about NATO, because I think most people don't know very much. And I wanted to also just say to, well, anyway, that's maybe enough. I think coming down, this march was going to go from San Diego across the country to Washington, D.C., but now they've changed it, as Diane said, from Maine to Washington, D.C. So we really do want to get to the members and the branches along that route. It's going to be, of course, going through the major cities. There's a lot of publicity that can be done, radio programs, newspapers, letters to the editor. So I think we should really maybe talk the next meeting about how to organize around this. It's a great opportunity and very important.
Okay. Odile has her hand raised.
Well, Nancy, you and Mary Beth Gardam you used to put out some wonderful image picture on a pesticide or on, I don't remember exactly. And
Oh, you
what
mean, yeah, the infographic cards.
infographic, maybe it would be good to have an infographic on NATO.
Well, that's an idea. It takes quite a bit. I think if we had it on paper rather than that infographic card, it might be better. I don't
Okay.
know. But I think something that explains NATO, because most people really don't know much about it. They think,
But you had a designer that was very good.
well, she's not going to be working for WILPF anymore. She's
Oh.
enlarging her own business. But we can do that. And
Okay.
I think most people think North Atlantic, a treaty, treaty organization, they think, well, this is just Western Europe, but it's not. NATO's expanding dramatically.
Yes.
They have a youth group, and they have some other things that are going on. They're going into space. They have a space group. So we really have to explain it.
Sounds good.
Well,
Looking forward.
Who has a youth? Who has a youth group and a space group?
NATO has a youth group. I think they cover something like young people age, 20 to 35. And also they're I can't really, I read about their space group, but I mean, they don't, of course, they're not going into space, but they consider that they have
an interest.
They have an interest, and they have a duty to, advocate to protect space for U.S. security and the security of the NATO countries. So it parallels the U.S. Space Command, which is one of the unified commands. So, we can talk about these particularly important aspects of NATO. Excuse me, I have a very bad throat today.
So Diane, did I not
You
see
need
you
a glass of water for Nancy.
Thank you.
Diane, didn't you make a representation to the steering committee about this $1,000? Didn't I see you were going to do?
They said disarm. Well, there was discussion because the immediate response was disarm should suggest it should go through disarm. And then then people said, well, Teresa and George Friday are not in the disarm committee anymore. And there are two other people that are in this committee. I guess we have 4 WILFers kind of attending meetings and things. So, if nothing was decided. Yeah, they wanted to go through disarm. So that's why I mentioned it here.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, I
think in what way would they want us to recommend it?
Exactly. Recommend
and pony up some of the money.
Well, not necessarily.
Or just say that it should the request that WILF do it.
Well, that's something that we can bring up when we're talking about our budget here, which is coming up.
Right.
Okay.
And this is in order to become what's called an endorsing organization of this whole event just before the NATO nations actually meet in DC.
Well, I don't think it's not to pay to be an endorsing group. It's to help fund the expenses of
right.
Yeah.
But isn't it not a requirement of each endorsing organization?
No, well, it's a very strong suggestion.
Right.
And I think already that some of the groups have pledged or have actually given the $1,000, but they're going to need to raise a great deal more money than the few peace groups can raise with $1,000.
Time to
Right.
move on. Sorry.
Okay.
So we're on
nuclear weapons free zone in the Middle East, Odile.
Well, one more time, WILPF was not accredited, so I thought I was going to go, but I can't go because it just would be money for nothing. I am not admitted. I don't know. I have asked people, why is it that WILPF is not accredited? I ask Reaching Critical Will, what is her name?
Ray Atchison.
Ray Atchison. And I asked the two women that I was working with, and nobody has answered anything. So it's not because we are not involved enough. I don't know. I have no idea why they refuse to accredit WILPF US.
To what?
But to go to the Middle East weapon of mass destruction free zone that is to be at the UN in the middle of November. I don't have the exact date in front of me right now. Jean, I can send them to you if you want.
So
Neil, is WILPF International accredited?
It seems, I don't know. Rea Cherson do go, and she writes
Reaching
report,
Critical Will. Thank you.
but it's WILPF US.
Right, no, she doesn't actually go. I don't think Ray ever walks into the UN building. She listens to everything.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
She does? Well, not lately.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, she does, because you cannot listen to everything. There is only the beginning speech and the last speech. Nothing in the middle is online.
Okay. All right. Well, my impression is that, you know, by and large, she stays at her house, and, you know,
Oh, no.
Jean, do you know, for the last 3 months, has she been there?
Well, the last 3 months I can't account for, but
Right, well, I'm accounting for the last, I'm accounting for recent. I'm not accounting for 10 years ago.
I watched her in action. She interviews diplomats, she interviews people who speak. She roves around. She's very, very active. And she's not a passive receptor of information at all.
No, and she wrote a beautiful report about it last year. That's how I was able to write an article for the Peace and Freedom. I interviewed Jackie Cabasso, and I read everything Rea Cherson wrote many times over, so I would know. But, you know, everybody is very positive about this meeting. But I don't know now, in the light of what's happening in the Middle East and all the weapon and all the bombing, it's not going to be a very good time. But they feel that they're working on the treaty as if it was going to happen. And then when everything is ready, they think that the US and Israel will just join in. If the security condition of the geopolitics is strong enough. So we will see. I'm very disappointed not to go. And that's why I had requested money, because going to two things was a lot on me that were very close to each other. But I felt that at the weapon free zone, I would understand the part that is Middle East, and then at the TPNW, I would understand the overall. And I thought for once it would be very good to be in both, but it's not happening for me. So I will be with Cheryl in New York, and I will try to contact people maybe there that can be on the Middle East. I know METO. METO is a Middle East treaty organization. They're very seclusive about what they're doing. And they don't want to let too many people on it. So I don't know how long this is going to go. But they may be the one that's requesting that not too many NGO be admitted. Just the people that have been the team player since the #1 meeting. And I couldn't go to the #1 meeting because that's the period where my mother was not well and dying. So I couldn't go to that #1. And because I miss the #1, it seems like I am ejected from every other meeting now. So I don't know, it should be more open. And I notice at Meto now, because I insisted when I wrote fundraising for them to sort into Plowshare, I wrote a grant for them because Sharon Dolev was complaining that they had no money. And I think it was important that the Israeli person had some money. So I wrote a grant to help her, but she has not been speaking to me since. And it's been all very close. And I noticed that they have many more staffing now. So I think they got a grant. And they're working on this treaty, like I said, positively. So that's all I know.
Thank you. I got something from Mito about something and I couldn't just find it. But anyway, yes. So thank you, Odile.
If you get anything from Meto, please let me know.
Yeah, I will.
What does that stand for?
Middle East Treaty Organization.
It's an NGO. It's yeah.
And they are made of one Israeli woman and many Arab participants, Syrian, Kurdish.
Okay.
Maybe we go to the next
Yes,
section.
the next is preparing our contributions to WILPF US Congress 2024. Eileen and Nancy, who wants to go?
Nancy, do you want me to take this on? Well, I'll just explain. I finished the book, The 3 Ages of Water, and found that this genius, Peter Gleich, has been working with other colleagues at the Pacific Institute in Berkeley, where, well, that was one of his schools. He started off at, I think it was Yale, and then went on to school in Berkeley. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that this man and his institute have looked at water and wars and other violent or conflicts over water over centuries. And he has proven to me that since 1980, there's been a significant increase in violence as a result of this. And I sent information to Ellen and Cheryl and Diane about this. It's basically my report, the one that we'll use. So our obligations from the Disarm Committee are done. We're also seriously considering, and hopefully he'll accept, inviting Peter Gleich to be a major speaker at the Congress.
Could you explain a bit why the connection between water and violence?
To live.
Yeah.
Correlation is we need water to live, and when people are desperate, they get violent.
Right, and we've discussed this before. The fact that rivers go through different countries, and the downstream rivers are depending on it, and then some other country says no, we're going to dam it, so we get more, and so they get less, and so they start wars about it. That's just and apparently, if you look at how many wars there've been thousands of wars over access to water from many years BC. And so
yeah, and think of the Nile.
The Nile is a good example.
The water goes through many different places.
So we have to decide how to make a workshop about this at the Congress, and maybe Nancy can tell us the final decision by the board that the Congress will be in person with some virtual parts of it, right, Nancy? Just bring people up.
Yes, that's been the final vote of the board. Yep. And yes, Jean?
My son my son-in-law is a water specialist. He's a lawyer who's a water specialist. And the amount of conflict over the Columbia River throughout the United States, there are huge claims that
the Colorado, you mean?
Yes, I meant that. Also the Columbia River in the Northwest, but I meant to say that. Yes, thank you very much. And also there are just fierce conflicts. I mean, people taking water away from the Native Americans, conflicts between states. It's a really drastic situation. There are just so many legal ramifications. So when you talk about between countries, it's right in our country and it's going on regularly.
Right. We need to make a workshop about this. And just, I mean, I don't want us just to be harping on all the nasty things that have happened. I think we should be looking to explain some solutions to this problem. So Nancy, do you see we can do that?
The West, let me just offer one. There was a huge conference that I went to, which I didn't understand because I didn't have enough background, regarding the Great Lakes, because other states were taking water from the Great Lakes. So the Great Lakes from the Canadian side and from the United States side collaborated and came up with something called the Great Lakes Compact. And I happened to be there when they were signing it, and there was a brouhaha about how wonderful this was.
When was this?
Oh, this was about 4 years ago. And so people were saying other states are going to be taking our water out of the Great Lakes. We won't have any fresh water. They were wildly emphatic about this. I just cannot overwhelm you with this information, but it really is quite overwhelming.
Well, we're going to be developing the program these coming weeks, and I'll keep in both Eileen and I will keep in mind what you said here. I think too that the problem, we're going to be dealing with the problem of contamination, privatization, keeping water in public hands versus in private corporate hands, water in terms of agriculture. We have a lot of themes going, so we're going to be picking and choosing and trying to put together a kind of 3 or 4 day program that really gets you from conflict to peace with water.
Right. We're looking for solutions to all these problems, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. And how much contact do you have through Dee or others, or you are the program person? So you're getting word from other groups that are planning programs and so on, so that there's more coverage by everybody of things that other people aren't covering? Do you see what I mean?
Well, I have to say that you and Earth Democracy are the only committees so far that have really dug into what you want to have part of your contribution. I need to get the other issue committees to really start thinking about it seriously.
Odile's got her hand raised.
Excuse me?
Odile has her hand raised.
Yeah, Odile?
What happened in the Great Lake is that we have Nestle that's pumping a lot in Michigan from the lake, and all the wells from the farmer around it are going dry. And then in Flint, we had all this problem with the lead in the water, and the African-American children dying when we have all the water from the Great Lake next to us. So that's one of the, examples that's so crazy.
And there's a huge amount of PFAS contamination in the Michigan waters.
Yes.
And anyway, we're going to try to focus on topics that are a little bit new and fresh and need to be lifted up at the same time as we look at other topics that we know about. We are going to focus also on the financialization of water being on the exchange markets now for investment, and try to educate people on topics that they may not, know as much about, come back to old ones too. So anyway, we're just beginning. We have a huge list of topics that have been proposed by all sorts of people on our committee. We have about 8 people on our committee. And so we're beginning to try to consolidate topics and sort them out. And we meet every Tuesday. So we're really going.
Yes, I did ask when George Friday asked for topics for the next program committee of WILF meeting on Tuesday. I did ask that she ask all the issue committees to say what they're doing towards the Congress planning, and but my topic didn't make the agenda. When I look at the latest agenda, it's mostly about Gaza and Israel.
I think I'll be mentioning it. Mentioning that
bring it
need.
up. Bring it up. Yes,
I'll bring it up. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So give us a couple of weeks, and then we'll have an outline, I think.
Cool. Thank you.
The next is Alliance for Nuclear Accountability, problems with radioactive waste. Pam, do you have something to report on that? Are you there, Pam? We can't hear you.
She's still here, but she's dark and muted.
Yeah. Okay, get institutions and individuals.
I unmuted. Sorry about that. It
All
took
right.
forever to find it on my phone because I was in the chat. Well, I don't really have anything to add right now for that because I think I already talked about we'll be getting ready for the annual fall meeting. So I'll have more at another point.
Thank you.
When is the fall meeting?
November 16th and 17th, and it's just for a few hours in the morning, basically.
It's remote?
Yes.
Okay.
And what meeting are you talking about?
Alliance for Nuclear Accountability.
Oh, okay.
The one that deals with mostly with radioactive waste and nuclear weapons, both.
Go to it.
Right.
So this is planning for next year.
There was an amendment about the ICBMs, the Garamendi amendment, and to talk about the plutonium processing that's going to be taking place. And I can't remember. Anyways, they failed, but we were trying to get, then it got, about 100 representatives voting for these amendments, but they did not pass.
They did not pass where?
In the Congress. And the Garamendi is a representative from California near the nuclear weapons plant of Lawrence Livermore Nuclear Weapons Laboratory.
Was this to the NDAA?
No,
these were separate
I think
bills.
it was to the NDAA. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things didn't pass.
Yeah.
Well, the House hasn't finished their job yet, right? They got to finish their job. Now they've finally got a speaker.
Get institutions and individuals to divest from weapons companies.
We've dealt with that.
We dealt with that one. Okay.
Yeah, we dealt with that.
Advocate for an end to war, and
we dealt with that. Sorry,
not really, but
as much as we had time.
Yeah. All right. The next is the treasurer's report, and we've got $2,119 in our account. I've been asked to come up with the budget for 2024. So I'd like to start with getting approval of are we willing to continue to make donations as we've been doing in the past, and I'll go through them. There's an annual donation of $200 to Alliance for Nuclear Accountability, which we have not been paying for. National has been paying for. They will pay for one thing, and so that's the one we've been asking them to pay for, and they have. What we paid for this year was $100 to Keep Space for Peace and to Black Alliance for Peace and to World Beyond War. And then we had a special $200 donation to Roots Action this year. So I would like to know if people are willing to continue making the regular donations to Keep Space for Peace, Black Alliance for Peace, and World Beyond War, and to ask National to pay ANA $200.
Yes.
Well, I think we should really have second thoughts about some of these.
Yes.
We have sufficient need for money ourselves rather than helping these other people who I haven't seen very much coming out of space, Keep Space for Peace.
No.
Out of them, I would say.
I thought I'd seen something recent that I was just going to say that for a change, there's more. Sorry.
and Black Alliance for Peace, I don't think. I mean, I get some emails from them. World Beyond War, it's definitely very active, and now they want another $1,000 for this No to NATO activity next year. So ANA definitely, I think $200 that National takes out of their budget rather than out of theirs. So anyway, that's my feeling that we've got. So Odile had a hand up.
I just want to say that World Beyond War just got a huge amount of money from Code Pink. Like 50,000 or 100,000, a huge amount of money from Code Pink.
Uh-oh.
Where did you hear about that?
I am on the board.
Of
that must be the Marxist millionaire. Marxist.
Yes.
Yes, it was featured in the New York Times.
Yes, yes.
So you're on the World Beyond War board, right?
Yes.
Right. So you see the financial stuff going on.
Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm.
So I am saying that they are not in. While we should send something to them if we want to work with them, but maybe they're not in huge need right now.
Okay. Any other opinions on this? I mean, we've
Jean has a hand up.
Thank you, Odile. I just wanted to say that I used to take graduate students to the Foundation Library, which is a very rich source of information. Foundations all over the world. There are many very affluent foundations that it is possible to apply to. I just mentioned that as a possibility in case we're looking for money.
Yeah, yes. I'd like to speak specifically in favor of supporting Black Alliance for Peace, because I think our campaign for AFRICOM ties in with what they're doing. It's not come to enough notice. And I agree. I think that the positive action campaign that nonviolently won the independence of Ghana was in line with Jane Addams' remarks in 1926 at the Fifth International Congress, that nonviolent action would be the future, and that the colonized world was ahead of the Western world in implementing it. And I think we have a responsibility to be supporting efforts to bring the AFRICOM struggle to the forefront.
I agree.
I wanted to say something about that too. There was an effort to work more with them in the fall a couple years ago, or was it 3 already? But that got a little bit messed up with one of our members not interacting positively. The woman who does a lot of work for Black Alliance for Peace, Margaret, I can't think of her last name.
Flowers.
Yeah.
Oh no, Kimberly.
Yeah, Kimberly, sorry. She joined WILPF and so on. So I think that your recommendation would be good. And then we need to follow that up with more connection with them. Thank you.
So we have recommendations for World Beyond War, Black Alliance for Peace, and Alliance for Nuclear Accountability. And we have one person saying that they think that Keep Space for Peace isn't doing very much right now. And certainly they have not been promoting WILF in any way or connecting with WILF in any way for quite some time, since Carol Erner left. So
Nancy has a hand up.
Nancy?
I just wanted to say that one of the U.S. commands is AFRICOM, which you can read about. I'll send a link to go into the notes about how you can read about the U.S. AFRICOM command. It's really interesting to read how they've put that together and what they're doing in Africa as part of one of the U.S. military, what would you say, foci of all the different military commands. I think if we read that and know how the U.S. military is going about being in Africa, that would really help in understanding what the Black Alliance for Peace is doing as well.
So is that going to be in the chat? I would love to read that.
I will, let's see.
Or just send it to all of us.
Yeah.
Can I send it to put in the notes? Would that be okay?
And you can also send it to the discussion list.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay.
So, can I ask Odile? We had agreed that we would give you $500 for your expenses for the 2 meetings. Now you're only going to 1. Would you be able to reduce that request, or you'd like to keep it at 500?
I don't know. I haven't had time to think about it. I have to add up all the things.
Okay.
But yeah, I was thinking that maybe I would ask more like 300 or something like that.
Well,
Okay.
I need to get back to them about what we're asking for. So
Right.
Either
So,
say 300 or 500, please.
Yeah, I don't know yet how much it's going to cost.
Well, why don't we say 500, and if you don't need it, then you don't.
Okay,
you don't.
that's
take
better.
It. Okay, all right.
But they actually don't need to know that. Or they want to see how we're intending to spend our $2,000, including donation.
Whatever it is that we're asking for. Yeah, they want to know what our budget is. Yes, what we expect to spend. So what else do we have on the agenda for 2024?
Well, you don't know until it happens. I mean, you could, tell them we expect to print a whole bunch of flyers for something, and we'll need, hundreds of dollars for that. I mean, it's only $2,000 that we've got. I mean,
Can you have an intern?
Well, and also we have $500 from National. The $200, 2,100 is what we have, and then there's the annual.
Oh, 500 we get from them. Okay, yeah. So Pam, you have an idea how to spend it?
Yeah, maybe we can spend some of it going to the Alliance for Nuclear Accountability lobbying in the spring, whenever we go.
Shall we say another 500 for that?
Yeah, that would be great.
I don't think we actually have to show exactly how we'd get rid of 2,000, because if we get rid of 2,000, we'd be down to nothing.
Well, we also have a little bit that's designated for drones and AI.
And remind us, how much is that, Eileen?
I think it was 200.
Okay.
Heck, maybe I'll make a drone, make an AI. Anyway, Odile, you had your hand up.
I think we should do some research on what is the impact of the Gaza war on the US in terms of the investment in armament and what's going on. Because the budget of the US congressional budget every year has money for the millions of dollars for the Iron Dome. So, and I have a friend who tell me, oh, now they're going to order many more Iron Dome. So we should kind of follow that up to know what's really happening with this Iron Dome and the weapons involved in the war in Gaza. And I think maybe we could have a budget, maybe we could have an intern that help us to do some of that research.
Right, now there is the mini grants of WILPF that are sitting there waiting for people to apply for.
So that would be a good mini grant, yeah.
That would be a good mini grant.
But that's not part of this budget.
Right. But I'm just, it reminds me that there is the mini grant.
Okay.
And the 500 to you for the TPNW is actually for this year.
Yes, she will be asking
So
for it.
It'll come out of our existing.
Right.
Okay.
So we'll be down to 1,500. So we only have to spend, but you don't want to spend it all. And we have to encourage members.
We haven't been getting donations. We haven't.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So everybody who's on the committee should consider making a small donation to WILPF and say this is for the Disarm Committee. You're allowed to do that, and you can send it, to the Peace Development Fund in San Francisco if you want to make it non-tax deductible. And again, you say it's for WILPF US for the Disarm Committee. I've done that in the past, and I probably will. I'll do that for my end of the year donation to WILPF.
And since the end of the year is coming up and a lot of people do that kind of thing, it would probably be good for us to put something out about it in writing to all of the discussion list and all of the other rather regular committee list too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who's going to do that? You know about it, Cheryl, because you're going to do it, but also Ellen.
Well, maybe we'll put that on, give co-chair Diana a chore there. So well, the Disarm chairs will sort something out, okay, about asking donations. Okay, I'm just going to make a list, add it to my very long list of things to do.
Oh, sure. I like that.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for giving me the privilege of being a vibes and times person. I'm almost a half hour overdue, but there's been really good vibes, so it's been a pleasure.
But we got to set the dates. We got one more thing to do, Eileen.
Oh dear.
It's all right, Ellen. Setting the dates. You'll see I've suggested that because of Thanksgiving weekend and Christmas weekend that we do not meet on the 26th of November and the 31st of December. And in both cases, I shall be in New York on one of them at this campaign meeting, and the other I shall be in Provence in France. And I'm sure the rest of you are going to be busy with your celebrations with your friends and relatives.
So we would meet the first time we would meet on the second Sunday in November and also December, because the 31st, the 24th, no, that's not good either.
Right. No, so it's the 12th of November, as the agenda says. We would meet on the 12th of November and the 10th of December. But we would not meet on the 26th of November and the 31st of December. It's always the last Thursday, remember, not the fourth. It's the last Thursday. December is one of those months that have got five Sundays. Okay, so can we all agree that's what we're going to do, and then we'll keep track.
Anybody who disagrees, speak now. Okay. All right.
And we will still, you know, we will be still sending out emails and stuff and trying to keep you up to date with what's going on. That, you know, that's good. Thank you for agreeing to all of that.
Okay, so the next meeting will be at November 12th, and it will have a new link.
Right, which Ellen will send me, and I'll make sure you will get the new Zoom link. I would say that we could say that we adjourn at essentially 7 p.m. our time, 10 p.m. your time in the East. And if people feel still the need to talk more about Gaza and Israel, that those people who are anxious to keep talking about that, I think to a certain extent it helps to talk about it, helps relieve some of our pressure, that those people could stay on. They would call it a soapbox session based on the One WILPF vocabulary. Does everybody agree with that we adjourn, but whoever wants can stay on?
There's no reason for, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll
I
certainly
want to thank
stop the
everybody
recording
for
right now.
the extra
You could
note.
stop the recording.
And thank you, Margot, for